all the interaction I had with a fresher or a non-IT engineering graduate, when asked about their goal with respect to the job, majority of them either said design or manufacturing. I felt they are yet to explore a lot of opportunities outside of it. Just say for example supply chain, which has one of those major contributions in the business. Let's see what is there for engineers in supply chain. Supply chain is really a vast topic. Whatever I'm going to cover here is from the engineering industry perspective. Take any business, how it works. We have product based companies, we have service based companies. The product based companies will sell their product, the service based companies will sell their service. The product based companies are something which has the product in their name, whether it's a software product or a physical product. And the service based companies usually supports the product based companies, and it's a combined effect that brings the product successfully to the market. What they do is bring in the raw materials, process them and make the final product and take it to the market. But this process is not simple as that. Consider a car. A car contains more than 30 to 35,000 unique components inside, right from the smallest screw. And an average car manufacturer can produce almost 100 to 120 cars a day. Imagine how many number of parts should be managed in a day. They need the right part at the right quantity, at the right specification, at the right cost, at the right place, at the right time. Most of the companies are now working towards the just-in-time inventory process. Means they are not interested to store the part for a long time. They just need the part just before the production in the assembly line. To manage such complex process, we need a robust, well-defined supply chain system in place. And engineers definitely have a major role to play here. Let's take a short demonstration to understand how it works, making the complex process simple. A simple demonstration of a supply chain system. Here the color representation shown green for sales and yellow for purchasing. And when you take an example of an automobile, we as an end customer who actually buys an automobile will usually get it from a dealer. And where do dealer get? Dealer will get from an OEM. OEM stands for Original Equipment Manufacturer, who actually manufactures the end product. So OEM as an organization will have a sales department. They also will have a purchase department. The sales department will be in touch with the dealer, and they understand the customer requirement and they understand the future volume requirement, and they communicate the same to within the OEM, and also they communicate the same to the purchasing department. The purchasing department is responsible to ensure the raw materials reaches the OEM. The purchase department will contact their suppliers, which is termed as tier 1 suppliers. Tier 1 suppliers are the suppliers who are supplying to an OEM. The tier 1 suppliers also will have a sales department, also will have a purchase department. And the purchasing department of the OEM will contact the sales department of the tier 1, and they communicate the volume requirement, also the customer requirement. And the sales team from the tier 1 communicates the requirement within the organization, and also an information will go to the purchasing department of the tier 1. And the purchasing department in turn will contact their suppliers, who are termed as tier 2 suppliers. Those who are supplying to tier 1 organization are termed as tier 2 suppliers. So tier 2 suppliers also will have a sales department, also will have a purchase department. The purchase department from the tier 1 suppliers will contact the sales department of the tier 2 suppliers, and they communicate the customer requirement and volume requirements. And the same will be communicated within the organization, and also information reaches to the purchasing team. So purchasing team has to search for their suppliers, which are termed as tier 3 suppliers, who are actually supplying to tier 2. So tier 3 also will have the sales department. They also will have a purchase department to ensure all the raw materials are procured. A simple example is shown here. Let's take the tier 2 supplier is a manufacturer of a door structure, and other tier 2 supplier, that is supplier 5,
maybe a supplier or manufacturer of a glass. Here, the tier 1 supplier buys the door structure from supplier 4 and they buy the glass from supplier 5 and they assemble it to form a proper door, and the door will be supplied to an OEM. And let's classify them into levels. Let's take this, the OEM, as level 1, and let's take this as level 2, level 3, and level 4. So, very important to understand, in all the levels, we have a purchasing team, and we have a sales team, and we have an organization which has an engineering team, which has the manufacturing team, which has a logistics team. If we have understood this structure, let's proceed further to know it better.
So I was talking about level 1, level 2 and level 3. Whatever I'm going to discuss now is parallelly happening in level 1, level 2 and level 3. It starts from getting the forecast from sales. The quantity forecast means the quantity requirements for the future. Once I have the quantity requirements for the future, I need to start the production scheduling, means assigning the production dates to manufacture the parts. For that, a capacity check is required. Whether do we really have the capacity to produce the components as per the quantity provided? If not, the capacity needs to be ensured. And after that, the logistics comes to picture. Logistics is nothing but movement of goods. And there is a department to handle the movement of goods. The lead time plays a major role here. Imagine, to buy a screw, the lead time may be a week. To buy an engine assembly housing, the lead time may be 10 to 20 weeks. But the problem is, the production line needs both these parts at the same time. And all the planning needs to be done by the logistics. And sometimes the packaging engineer also needs to be involved here, in case if there is any deviation or major deviation in the quantities, whether to understand if a packaging change is required. And a material planner from the logistics team should contact the purchasing team in order to buy the parts. He does that either to scheduling agreements, or he does that through raising a purchase requisition. The purchasing team issues a purchase order, supplier gets the purchase order, and supplier delivers the parts. Delivering the parts also will have different kind of logistic setup, which is called as Incoterms. Incoterms are internationally accepted standards. Just say, for example, if the Incoterm agreed is X works, the logistics must go to the supply location and bring the parts. If the Incoterm is free carrier, FCA, supply should deliver the parts to a person or a place where nominated by the purchasing team. These are just couple of examples, and if you just go online and type Incoterms 2020, you can understand all the standard Incoterms. So after following the Incoterms, the delivery happens, and from the delivery, the parts will go to inbound logistics. And from the inbound logistics, it will be moved to the incoming inspection area, where the quality check is done. And after that, the part will be handed over to the material planner. The material planner gets in touch with the inventory controller and stores these parts in the warehouse. And further movement to the line is planned. Inventory also has different kinds of inventory and different ways to handle them. We have raw material inventory, we have work in process inventory, we have just in time. Please note all these terms so that you can search them online. So whatever the process I've explained so far is for the existing parts. Means the parts are running from quite some time, and the variations of the quantities and issues are managed by these kind of processes. But imagine if it is a new part, a completely new design, or a change in the existing design. The process also has the variation. If it is a new design or any major design change for the existing part, the customer requirement and the specifications will be received by the engineering team through sales. The engineering team does the feasibility study and the design validation. Sometimes they might have to go for the sample assembly. In that case, they'll request the purchasing team to buy the samples to check whether this particular design really works or not. And for any minor issues, they'll do the design corrections, get the customer approval, and once everything is fine, they request the purchasing team to initiate the sourcing process. Sourcing is nothing but awarding the business to a supplier and buying the parts for the future requirement. It usually starts with a process called RFQ, which is request for quotation. The request for quotation with all the technical documents and specification will be sent across to the suppliers. The supplier receives the same, they checks their feasibility and provide us the quotes. The quotations will contain the price information, the lead time information, what raw materials considered, price breakdown, the kind of Incoterms considered, the payment condition considered. So once the purchasing team receives the quote or the prices from all the suppliers, they need to go for the supplier shortlist to pick 4 or 5 suppliers or 3 or 4 suppliers out of so many suppliers quoted. To shortlist, a supplier should be first approved by the customer or approved by the company itself. There is supplier evaluation engineer who actually goes to the suppliers, conduct the audits and approve the suppliers. I can shortlist only if the supplier is an approved supplier. And the purchasing team will present the sourcing case to the management and gets the approval. And the supplier will be awarded with the business. And there is one more major approval required is on the part level. First we got the supplier approval. Now we also need the part level approval. There is a preventive quality engineer who does that. They basically visit the supplier location and check not only the part, also the process by which the part is manufactured. It's a huge process. In automotive industry, it is called as PPAP approval or production part approval process. Once the part is approved, the same can be purchased. And there are certain cases where the tooling will be provided to the suppliers. Means I'll be owning the tool as a company, but my tool will be located at the supplier location. In that case, an inventory management engineer is also required, who monitors all those tooling assets provided. And after the part approval, if still there is any quality issue, will be handled by another team, which is supplier quality assurance. The team names of the positions which I have mentioned might differ from company to companies. They might call with a different name. The department will have a different name. But it's an overall process. This is how it works. And these are the number of positions required to handle a well-defined supply chain system. You may be thinking what's there for an engineer in all this process, but it all depends on the kind of product you are managing. If it is a mechanical component or an automotive part, it's always better to have an engineer who knows the specification, who knows the material, who knows the manufacturing process, handling these parts. Let's see what may be the positions you should be looking for if you are interested in the supply chain process. You can be a sales engineer who takes the customer specific requirements and understand the specifications and communicate that to the engineering team. You can be a business intelligence expert where you are research the market, understand what is the requirement in the market. You can be a material planner. You can be a packaging engineer, very important. You can be a plant supply chain project manager. You can be a logistics controller. You can be an inventory manager or an inventory controller. You can be a purchasing project manager. You can be a raw material specialist or the raw material cost controller. You can be a techno-commercial buyer within the purchasing team. You can be a preventive quality engineer who approves the part. You can be a supplier quality engineer who resolves the supplier related issues in the supplier's plant. You can be a tooling asset manager. You can be a tool cost expert who supports the buyer in order to negotiate the tooling related cost. You can be a supplier evaluation specialist or the supplier auditor. You can be a process auditor. You can be a supplier delivery assurance engineer who ensures the delivery and also the capacity management at the suppliers. You can be a part of supplier development team. Out of all this, when you take one example of a buyer, after some years you work in buyer, you become senior buyer. After that you become a purchase manager. You become a purchasing regional VP over the period of time. The kind of growth you get in supply chain is really the next level. Also, the inter-department switch also is quite easier in the supply chain system. If you are a buyer for a long time, you can change, you can be a logistics controller. After some time, you can be an inventory manager. You can switch to sales after some time. So if you are an engineer, think from the broader mindset. Supply chain has a very good opportunity for you. Please have a look at it. And once you gain experience in all this, you can be a supply chain design consultant. Well, there are a lot of certifications given for the supply chain professionals, and these are some of them. If you are a fresher or with little experience, I suggest do not go with certification at the moment. First get the experience about supply chain and then do the certification. Any knowledge you gain here will never go on waste. With all the interaction I had with a fresher or a non-IT engineering graduate, when asked about their goal with respect to the job, majority of them either said design or manufacturing.